So this is Neo, the new micro drone, because it's not a mini, smaller than a mini, from DJI, and it's interesting. I mean, it's cheap, and it's got a lot of things which make it, unique. And you can fly it with a controller, you can fly it without anything, you can fly it with your phone. But yeah, the best way is with a controller. But I think the whole point of it is to keep it like really minimal. But is it fair to compare it to their other drones, the Mini 4 Pro, the Air 3, or the Mavic 3 series? Why not?
I've been promising a comparison video between the DJI Mini 4 Pro, the Air 3 and the Mavic 3 line for almost a year. I started filming it in April last year with the then just released Mavic 3 Pro. But the majority of the video was filmed when I was in Skiathos in Greece last October. But I had to put the edit on hold because I needed to make a time-sensitive video about declassifying the Mini 4 Pro if you're in the EU. Then, well, life just got in the way. 2024 has been the most difficult year of my life, and to be honest, it's not getting any better. And making videos during this time has been a huge challenge, and this one just slipped through the cracks. But when the DJI Neo was released, I thought this is the push I needed to finally finish it. I hope that none of them are replaced imminently, but it will most likely happen the day after I publish this video.
I was here a few days ago, and I thought I got some really nice stuff. Well, some of it's nice, but a lot of it just didn't look good. And that's totally my fault, because I put the wrong settings in. And one of the really cool things that we have about the Neo is the ability to set our sharpness and noise reduction, something I didn't expect to have in this very low-end drone, but we do. And those settings are really important in the other DJI drones, and it's also very important in this one, and I got it wrong. In the drones that have this ability to set these parameters, it's always -2, -2, -2 sharpness, -2 noise reduction. Avoid as much in-camera, in drone processing as possible. Better to do things in post. It looks way superior. When I first did my filming though, I just thought, whoa, that looks really noisy at -2, -2. So I thought maybe I should put in some noise reduction. I really shouldn't have done, especially since I had it at 0, which is just 1 below the maximum. It completely destroyed the image, and yeah, there's no noise anymore, but it just looked unnatural. So I am sticking to -2, -2. -1 if you're going to higher ISOs, but really the high ISOs are not going to look very good at all. Really, 100, 200 is the maximum I would ever use this drone at, because it's just not going to look good at those higher ones. I'm still going to use some of those shots because I'm not going to redo them again, but I will let you know on screen which ones they are. As you can hear, it's got a very high-pitched noise, an irritating noise, which is why I'm using Isotope's RX9 noise reduction to remove it when I'm talking on camera as much as possible. And the other sound that you're hearing, the natural sound, was recorded separately, of course, because you can't really record much else when that's going.
These settings are so important to get the best image out of all the drones in this video. Well, all but one. The Mavic 3 series cannot fine-tune sharpness or noise reduction, and that's pretty ridiculous given that they're the most expensive of DJI's fixed camera drones, especially when the cheapest chips Neo lets you. Despite being unable to adjust those settings, the main camera's 5.1K image looks really nice. However, in 4K, there's too much noise reduction baked in, and you can do nothing about it. I wish you could. The Mavic 3 Pro replaces the original Mavic 3. The biggest change is the new third camera, 70mm to go with the 24mm main and 166mm telephoto camera. This 70mm one has a 1/1.3 inch sensor with a fixed f2.8 aperture. The 166mm uses a 1/2 inch sensor and has a slightly faster fixed aperture of f3.4 compared to the original's f4.4. They've also improved the quality with a better lens and better processing, and both of these cameras can shoot in 4K up to 60p. The Micro Four Thirds main camera can shoot in 5.1K up to 50p, and up to 120 frames per second in 4K on the main camera. And it has an f2.8 variable aperture, Changing your exposure in the air without having to use shutter speed or ISO to do so is one of the things that makes the Mavic 3 drones so good. The more expensive Cine version has a non-removable 1TB SSD, which opens up the ability to record in ProRes HQ, 422 or LT, and you can record in this with all the cameras. But if you want to use focus track, you can't shoot in ProRes, and your max resolution is 4K up to 60p. All 3 cameras support focus track, but the 166mm cannot use the active track mode. The 10-bit H.265 though is still very good and works across all 3 cameras. The main camera has full fat D-Log, but the other 2 only have the D-Log M. But I generally keep all 3 of them set to D-Log M to help me match all the 3 cameras in post. You can also set them all to HLG or normal color if you really want to. The other big difference between the Mavic 3 Pro, the original Mavic 3, and the still available Mavic 3 Classic is the weight. Because it's over 900 grams, it's therefore classified as a C2 drone. The other 2 Mavic 3s are C1. By adding that 70mm camera to the Mavic 3 Pro, they've made it a much more practical drone than before. The jump from 24 to 166mm was too big. It always needed something in the middle. Now, if only they could squeeze on an ultra-wide camera somewhere?
I'm very happy that we do have the ability to actually put in our speed, dial it in, so have it at 1 meter a second, the speed of the old tripod mode. But you can have it set to whatever you want it to be, and I have that on C, so it's 1 meter a second, and it's just so nice for controlling. But then I have the normal set to 4 meters a second and sport to the fastest one possible.
I use Topaz Video AI for quite a few years, and it's just getting better and better, and it does a fantastic job of making the footage from the Neo look so much better. Even with the -2 settings, it really needs it, especially if you want to cut the footage alongside other cameras, as the difference in quality will make it stand out, and what you want is it to blend in. I say that in every single drone video.
Whilst we don't have any obstacle avoidance sensors, we can still do some tracking, because it needs that for doing the helix and the drone type shots. But I don't use any of those, I don't do any active tracking. The only one I would want to use is the spotlight mode, which keeps your centre of frame. Because it is using the camera, it actually loses me quite a lot. But it's nice that it's there, but yeah, it does keep losing me, which is not ideal. Be very careful with your exposure, because on skin tone, when it blows out, it really blows out, because it is that normal profile, but it seems to bite way more than a normal profile on the other ones. So yeah, really be careful about what you have your settings to if you're going to be in manual, which is ideal, or auto. If it's auto, stick it down to, oh yeah, here I'm at -1, so I have to bring it right down to hold my side of the skin to -2 almost, which is just going to lose so much detail in the blacks. But best not to film a human being if it's going to be that problematic. That's why I tend to prefer, if I'm filming myself with this, keep it backlit, and then it's not such a problem. There we go. No issue now. But do make sure you have your noise reduction set to -2, because otherwise, in this sort of thing with an underexposed face, it is going to mushify the details. Unless that's what you want. Some people want that. And certainly for a face like mine, which is 53 years old, maybe I should. It seems to work when it's in bright sunshine. Maybe that's the issue, it needs sunshine. Well, it's not very good for England, is it?
I have nothing but praise for the C1 certified Air 3. I actually think it's DJI's best fixed camera drone, as it does everything so well consistently. There's only one negative about it, and that's both cameras have fixed apertures, f1.7 on the 24mm and f2.8 on the 70mm. Of course, it doesn't have the telephoto lens of the Mavic 3 Pro or the micro four thirds sensor of the main camera, but the image from both of these cameras is so good. The Mavic 3 Pro has several quirks, some of which I've mentioned, that have been part of the Mavic 3 line since the first one. But with the Air 3, I've not found a single quirk, and it's also around half the price. I get around 30 minutes of flight time. That's proper flight time, not hovering, similar to what I get with the Mavic 3 Pro. It also has the newer OcuSync 4 for better range, but mainly for a more reliable, stable connection. Both cameras can take up to 48 megapixel photos in RAW or JPEG if you want. The Mavic 3 Pro can take RAW photos of 20 megapixels for the main camera, up to 48 megapixels for the 70mm, and for the 166mm camera, it's 12 megapixels. Both cameras have dual native ISOs, so they're not bad in low light, but do make sure you turn that noise reduction and sharpness down to -2, -2. Do your noise reduction in post, as you'll get much better results. There's of course 10-bit D-Log-M and HLG, and you can choose on both cameras up to 100 frames per second, unless you are in HDR, which tops out at 60p, and you can get to 100 frames per second in HD if you want to, but as I generally fly so slowly, it's not something I'd ever use. The tracking ability of the Air 3 is even better than the Mavic 3 Pro, with their newly designed omnidirectional sensors, and I was really impressed at how good it was. Rather than gush on about how great this drone is, I will let the footage do the talking. Some of my shots taken with the Mavic 3 Pro and Mini 4 Pro are now available on Storyblocks, the sponsor of this video. I've been using them for over 5 years, and they've gotten me out of a pickle many times when I'm missing key footage. For my latest video on my One Man 5 Cats channel about some dangerous self-cleaning litter boxes that have flooded the market, there was a hole in the edit, and I didn't have the shots that I needed. I have terabytes of footage of automatic litter boxes being used, but none of cats using a manual box. To get this footage would require me to order a box, set up my camera, and hope one of my cats would use it. But I just didn't have the time to do this. I needed the shots urgently, and Storyblocks didn't let me down. I noticed I didn't have any shots of any self-cleaning boxes there, so I've given them some to get them started off. If they want more, then I could most definitely help. Their latest campaign is about times when things have gone wrong when trying to get shots, and well, you should have used Storyblocks. Keeping that in mind, my first 35 clips are an eclectic mix, which could potentially help you get out of a jam. There's of course shots of cats, my cats, stray cats, and big cats. How about the moon? There's loads of ocean shots. But the most important clips are of my much missed dad, smoking a cigar. He would have been 79 tomorrow, and I love the idea that these shots could end up being used in videos all over the world, and I know he would have liked that. Storyblocks have unlimited downloads of over 1 million assets, which include video of course, but also templates, music, sound effects, images and more. All royalty free and all for a fixed price subscription. To sign up, head to storyblocks.com/pbloom. So what's so good about the Mini 4 Pro other than its incredibly freeing weight of 249 grams? Well, they pack so much into this little thing. The 24mm camera is the same as the Air 3's, with the same recording modes, frame rates, dual ISO, and of course noise reduction and sharpness control.
The Mini 4 Pro is something which the others don't have, and that is the ability to shoot in vertical video at the touch of a button. But I can't do it whilst recording. I have to stop recording and then do it. Not a massive fan of vertical video, but of course there is a place for it. I mean, you have to shoot native, as in turning the camera so you're not dropping resolution like you get with the Pocket 3 and the other drones. You are actually getting full 4K resolution. So there we go. Just try and get my framing right. There we go. I finally got it. Almost. There. Let's stop now.
It's the first of the Mini line to have obstacle avoidance sensors covering the front, back and sides. Like the Air 3, it uses the superior OcuSync 4, which gives it excellent range and transmission quality. I get around 25 minutes of flight time, which is good for such a small battery, and it also has cruise control and waypoints like the Mavic 3 Pro and Air 3. I reviewed the Mini 4 Pro in depth last year, so do check it out if you want to learn more about this amazing drone.
So the Neo has things I didn't expect to have: the sharpness, noise reduction control, the adjustable speed, but it's missing something which I believe to be really important. and that is frame rates that are lower than 30p. So there's no 24p, no 25p in any resolution. The max you can get in 4K is 30p. Well, that's all you can shoot in 4K. In 1080, it's 30p, 50p and 60p. So I really, really hope they can add this in the firmware. Come on, just 30p? That's taking me back to 2008, 2009 with the Canon 5D Mark II, shooting in just 30p. Let's get with 2024, please, DJI. Please, 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 please. I'm even at the same tree that I begged you for other things at. Thank you.
It has 22 gigabytes of internal storage, and it can't take a micro SD card with its roughly 15 megabits per second bitrate, which is lower than the max 150 you get with the other 3 drones. You can record approximately 40 minutes of footage to the internal storage. I have the Fly More combo, which comes with 2 extra batteries, a 3-way charging hub, and a DJI RC N3 controller. It's also compatible with the DJI RC and the RC N2. The N3 is almost the same as the N2. The only differences I could find are it's got a smaller battery, and there's no way to attach a strap to the bottom. Even with 3 batteries, I was running out of power before I was running out of storage. I'm only getting about 9 or 10 minutes of flying time, but if you have the charging hub, you can charge on the go. In fact, you can charge all 3 batteries simultaneously with a 60-watt power bank. That'll take about 60 minutes. If you plan on flying more once those batteries are charged, you're going to need to get the footage off of the Neo. And if you don't have a computer with you, there is a quick transfer mode using Wi-Fi via the Fly app. You can also plug the Neo into your smartphone to transfer that way directly.
It is easier flying the Neo through woods like here because it has those protected props and it is smaller. But it does struggle in lower lights. As soon as you get undercover into these woods, and it is going to be, you know. One of my biggest pieces of advice I can give you when flying the Neo is to make sure your shutter speed is ideally 4 times your shutter speed. But I'm going to shoot at 100th second and the light is going. It's because it's not a mechanical gimbal, it's purely electronic. And you're going to get some issues, you're going to get some artifacts if you just at double your frame rates. And if you leave it on auto exposure, it will drop that shutter speed to a 30th of a second, which is going to look pretty terrible for any movement. So yeah, so it is a problem because it isn't a great low light drone at all. No. This is not a low light drone. Let me push my shutter speed up a bit. I have to go to 400 ISO. Oh. It really is such fun for flying through things. It's so nimble, so small. And I love to fly backwards through anything that's there. There's a lot of things in this woods. So despite all the advantages that the Air 3 gives me, and of course the Mavic 3 Pro with its 3 cameras, and the extreme portability of the Neo, the Mini 4 Pro is still my favourite drone. My favourite drone of all time, really. It isn't the best at everything, but it is an incredible package still in that sub 250 gram weight category, which just makes an enormous difference to where you can fly. So yeah, if the image wasn't good and it didn't have all these sensors, then yeah, I think the Air 3 is a better drone for sure. And that's the question: is should you get the Air 3 and should you get the Mavic 3 Pro? Because the Mavic 3 Classic only has the 1 camera. So depends how rich you are, how much money you got. I really love the size of the Air 3, and yet whilst I do miss that big telephoto lens. So yeah, does that make things clearer for you? Probably not.